broad shoulders. In shoulder dystocia, the issue is that the head is not the biggest part of the baby. The shoulders are the bigger dimension. So we're going to be able to deliver this baby's head, and then it's going to be stuck, and it's being held up by its shoulders. So here we go. Mommy's pushing. She's pushing and she's pushing, and we begin to see the separation of the labia. And the healthcare providers here, getting out the perineum. Here comes the head. And the head's out. And then it goes right back on the perineum. This is called the turtle sign, when the head comes out and then it goes back in. Just like a turtle pulls its head back inside the shell. Okay, that is the warning sign to the healthcare provider that's delivering. There's a problem here. Because instead, what is supposed to happen? One shoulder is supposed to start to slide forward, then the other shoulder. So instead of, the head's come out and then it's gone, it's retracted right back on the perineum, and it's there. So the healthcare provider slides their finger around there, they're looking to see, okay, is it a cord issue? No cord, that's not what's doing this. And they try to get their finger inside, and it's a tight fit. They may not be able to get their finger inside. Can they just take the head and twist and turn? No. They may try to get a hold of more of the body with their fingers to try to manipulate a little bit. But they may say to you as the nurse, this is a tight fit. Because they're not trying to scare the patient to death. They may say, this is a tight fit, I'm going to need some extra help here. And then they may say, I need the McRoberts maneuver. This is the maneuver to open up the pelvis to get the baby out. McRoberts means we're going to grab these legs, and we're going to pull these legs back like this. And basically, what the patient's doing, you know how she had her legs pulled back anyway a bit to push? Well, she's actually got her legs flexed on her abdomen, but it's not the way the support person did it. We need to have a nurse on each side because we're pulling with as much force as we can exert. Because you're pulling apart, you're putting her in a squat position, you're pulling apart her hip bones to make more room for her pelvis. And you should say, this may not feel good, this may hurt. Even if she has an epidural, when you're pulling her legs like that, she is going to feel that. She's not so numb that she won't feel that happening. That's the first thing. So the doctor down there or the midwife still trying to manipulate to get the shoulder out, nothing's happening. There was a good picture in your book of what's really happening inside the uterus. One of those shoulders is trapped behind the pelvic arch, and the other shoulder is back along the backbone. Can we get a hold of the shoulder that's by the backbone? No way. There's nothing you could do with pushing on the backbone to free a shoulder. But if you put pressure here on the front shoulder, the idea is that you push it down so it goes under the pubic arch and freeze it, and then the shoulder can slip out. So at this point, unless you are a very tall person, you're going to be climbing up on the bed. And there needs to be a stool or something to help you do that unless you're into high hurdles. And you're up on the bed and you are putting steady pressure just above the pelvic arch. If you feel the bones right there, you're putting your pressure right above it. And it's not a rocking motion. It's not like we do CPR, 1 and 2 and 3 and why not? It's not because it was great. What happens? Why do we do up and down when we do CPR? We want to allow the lungs to expand so that things move when you let go. Well, we don't want that shoulder to come back up under the pelvic arch. So we want steady pressure here and a lot of it to get that top shoulder free. And then the physician or the midwife is still manipulating. And now, here comes first one shoulder, then the other shoulder. And voila, we have the baby! Thank you so much.
So that would take 3 nurses then?
At least. If you had time, you would have called NICU. Say, I need NICU over here now, or the NAN nurse, depending on what you're doing. That's one extra one room. Because once the head came out, the baby is not getting oxygenated. So the longer the head is out, the more high risk this is. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. I'm just going to tell you briefly about the worst delivery that I ever saw, which was a shoulder dystocia. Mother had an epidural. She had Pitocin. She went to the delivery room. This is back where they still did this. The delivery moved.
and we did McRoberts, and we did pressure, and this is quite a ways back. And at that point, physicians as well as nurses sometimes did something that is never, ever, ever done in OB these days, and that's called fundal pressure before the baby delivers. So, in an attempt to get the baby out, there was also pressure on the top of the uterus to try to get the baby out. This ended up being a court case, and one of the questions that I was asked as a nurse in the room was, how long was the baby's head out before the baby delivered? And it's been decades, and I still get goosebumps when I think about it. I don't know. It seemed like a lifetime, because you knew that things were going down the tubes. You knew this baby was potentially dying, and we couldn't get the baby out. It was probably an excess of 5 minutes, but I really don't know for sure. One of the things that a nurse would do now with a shoulder dystocia is look at the clock and start a mental clock of how long the head's been out before the shoulders come. The baby came out with an APCAR of 1, and it didn't change much. You do them again at 5 and at 10 and at 15. And there was a whole team working on the baby from as soon as it was born, but it was already severely compromised. In the meantime, the OB had left to go work with the pediatricians and watch the resuscitation effort. And I was staying with Mom. I had my hand on her abdomen, was feeling for the gush of fluid, and looking for the gush of fluid, and feeling for the release of the placenta. And I saw the gush of fluid, and I called the OB back over to catch the placenta. And when the placenta slid out, I couldn't feel anything in her abdomen anymore. There was nothing that I could feel. Nothing. In the meantime, once the placenta had delivered, blood was just flowing freely. Nothing. Like I'd never seen before. What do you think happened? Those of you who've heard this story don't tell. Uterus rupture. Long and short of it. At some point, either with the fundal pressure or with the shoulder, trying to get the shoulder out, it tore the uterus and the uterus ruptured. So now you can't feel a fundus because there is no container it's just open inside. The end of the story was that they tried to control the bleeding from down below, didn't work. They went ahead, they had anesthesia, everybody was in the hospital. It was an ideal time to, if you needed to do a major crisis like this, people were there. They opened her up, they tried to tie off the uterine arteries to control the bleeding and repair the uterus, but they couldn't control the bleeding. So they ended up having to do a hysterectomy. So she would not have any more children. And I can't remember how many units of blood and plasma and everything that got home. She had multiple lines, everything running at once, trying to save her life. She ended up going to ICU, obviously, and she ended up going home from the hospital. Okay, post-hysterectomy. But her baby got transferred to a level 3 NICU, where it went on to seize repeatedly. And the bottom line is that the baby was never going to be able to go beyond a vegetative state. It would be a lifetime of care or until an infection was big, and that's what needed to be a lawsuit. At the time, the parents had both been present, and they were really grateful for the care that they had gotten. And they knew we did everything we could have at that time. However, faced with a lifetime of care for that baby, 24 hours, 7 days a week, for how long, it turned into a very major lawsuit. So that's the worst shoulder delivery I've ever seen. Thank goodness they aren't all that way. Yes,
so the baby lived?
It was 12 pounds something. I don't remember the exact pounds of the baby. It probably would not have been a vaginal birth these days, because now with ultrasound, even with their limitations on weight, you would have known it was really an LGA baby. Interestingly though, both parents had been 10 or 11 pound babies themselves, so it was a family history. She wasn't a diabetic. It wasn't one of those things that put her at risk. It was genetics, pure and simple.
Can you rupture the uterus by pushing on
the uterus? Don't say it. We're going to change that wording there just slightly. You said you ruptured the uterus. Did not rupture. It happened. The uterus ruptured either by the shoulder tearing.
Not that's what I'm saying. Can one rupture a uterus by pressing.
On the fundus with the baby
No,
still
not on
inside?
fundus, on the technique you showed us here, on the, right above the,
The secret pivot pressure?
yeah.
Shouldn't be able to. Shouldn't be able to because you're pushing just above the bone, you're pushing over the bladder. And there isn't a whale of a lot of choice once the head is out. You can't put it back in. That's gotta be the limit. That is a downer story, so we need a break. How about 10 minutes? Back at 5 of 11?